Welcome back. As we promised, we decided to continue talking about the developments in Gaza and about the fragile ceasefire and about the negotiations, also about the trade of accusations between the Israeli occupation authorities and Hamas regarding the continuation of the ceasefire, or unfortunately to return back to battle, something which we wish that it's not going to happen, and we wish that there is a permanent stop for the bloodshed. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Professor Dr. Hassan Wageeh, Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. A very good morning.
Very good morning to you. Thank you.
Sir, with the latest developments taking place on the ground, with the Israeli strikes continuing on Gaza, and on the same time you're going to find Hamas on the other side of the coin saying that they are not going to release the Israeli-American hostage or the 4 bodies of other hostages, except when Israel continued on implementing the ceasefire. The Israelis are saying that this is psychological warfare, and for the 14th consecutive day they banned the humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. How do you see the situation?
Yeah, the situation is complex as it is, and actually when it comes to original signing of the truth document, yes, Hamas is trying to adhere to the text that they have already signed with the Israelis and with the mediators. So you cannot blame someone who is trying to stick to what he signed with other parties.
Yeah.
But again, they feel that the psychological game is not being launched by Hamas. Hamas think that the other parties are playing the psychological game themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a standstill situation. I hope there will be a way out of this obstacle.
We all hope so, but also there are some pressures, if I may call it this way, whether from people or from the officials in the Western countries, particularly Europe. For example, yesterday the British Foreign Minister said it bluntly that the ban of humanitarian aid and the cut of electricity crimes, of course he didn't say that crimes, I'm saying that these are crimes against humanity committed by the Israeli occupation authorities. This should stop, because those who are paying the dear price are the innocent civilians, and this is a breach to the ceasefire which was agreed upon. On the other side of the coin, you are going to find also students in Columbia University having protests and massive protests against what's going on. How do you see these things as pressures, whether on the United States or Israel?
Actually, yes, you can, in negotiation, exert some pressure on the other party. But as you have said, as you have eloquently expressed it, what is the share of the innocent people? Innocent people should not be used as a pressure card in the negotiation. Especially, they have already been tormented a long time ago by this kind of genocidal attitude in negotiation. It shouldn't be that way. Civilians are suffering a lot, and they have already suffered a lot. And I think that is really goes up to be a war crime again, a crime against humanity. It's not against the Palestinian or anyone, it's against humanity. So I don't think this is ethical and this is right to negotiate with having this kind of weapons like hunger, electricity cut off.
Starving people. And
yeah,
sir, in addition to the strikes, for example, I'm just giving examples because there are a lot of crimes committed by the Israeli occupation, whether through the 15 months of more than 15 months of Israeli genocide war, or even in during the truce. Yesterday, 10 Palestinians were martyred in one of the strikes against their vehicles, and they were journalists and photographers, 2 of them or even 3 of them, and of course with the claims of the Israelis that they are terrorists, as if they are considering journalists who are going to document the catastrophic situation as terrorists, because they are going to continue with delivering this message from the Strip to the world. If you want to elaborate on that.
Yes, of course, there is a very bad history for the Israelis when they killed many journalists, and the statistics made by human rights groups are appalling, and you cannot accept this to happen. Also, it also goes up to be a crime against humanity. I don't think this is also the right way to deal with a tough situation like that, and I hope that everyone will get to a win-win track, especially when we have an American mediator, and President Trump himself wants to see no expulsion for Palestinians. He wants to see no more of killing, and I think that what is happening with this air raid or with killing of journalists goes very against the will of even all the mediators, of course, and all the parties involved, and against the will of President Trump himself.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the American president, sir, and I thought that I'm not going to speak about this now, but unfortunately, when it comes to what's going on the ground, there are all the time surprises. And one of Trump's surprises, it was the attack on Sana'a, on the Yemeni capital, and to be specific, on some sites affiliated to the Houthis. And he said, and this very first strike ended with 31 killed, including women and children. And unfortunately, he said that he is going to continue with that. On the other side of the coin, the Houthis said that this is not going to go on without a response. So, do you think that Trump is moving his conflicts or moving the Middle East to another conflict, which is going, unfortunately, to end with a more chaotic situation with this strike on Yemeni sites?
Yes, I think that, you know, the Yemeni stance is very also needed to be analyzed, but again, opening up a front is not the right solution. The right solution is to end the negotiation. If you end the negotiation in a very win-win situation, I think this will release all the kind of pressures being exerted, and the retaliation game will be stopped. So I think that...
No, sir, if you permit me to interrupt here, I don't know why I feel that as if he is taking the attention to another side.
Yes. I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Of course, first, I apologize for the interruption, but I felt that he is taking action, or he's taking the attention of the international community to another side.
Yes, and I don't think that this will work out fine when it comes to the situation in Yemen. You know, Yemen was bombed before, but the nature of the mountains and the nature of the geography of the place will not work out as people would think. So more civilians will be killed, more opening of fire will be there, retaliatory things could happen again. And as I've said, it is not the right way to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Solving the problem is to finish up what was agreed upon, what was there.
Because this is going to end with a peaceful situation. And here I should move to Egypt and to all the time efforts exerted by Egypt to reach this and to cement the ceasefire and to turn it into a permanent ceasefire. And there are all the time contacts, whether by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi or by our top diplomat, Minister Badr Abdel Ati. And last but not least, he had an important meeting yesterday with the UN Deputy Secretary General, who was here, and they spoke in specific, or one of the most important topics which was very much high on the agenda of talks, is Gaza reconstruction plan and the emergency summit which took place here in Egypt, and the coming conference which is going to be held also here in Egypt in coordination with the United Nations and the Palestinian Authority. How do you see our diplomatic efforts, sir?
Yes, of course, these efforts are great efforts. And if you try to analyze the viewpoints of observers all over the world, the fair-minded people will come up with a great statement regarding the Egyptian plan, which became an Arab plan, and Egypt's effort is extremely beneficial, extremely important, and extremely strategic, and extremely go to the root of the conflict. And Egypt is determined to solve it on a win-win situation for everyone, and this is the only right path for getting the whole thing settled in a way that is good for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and as I've read yesterday, this article by Professor Lisa Anderson, a former professor and in the AUC here in Cairo, but she's I think in Colombia, in the United States, wrote a very nice piece in the Foreign Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And she considered the Egyptian plan and the Arab plan is extremely important for the entire world, and she is inciting the all parties to stick to it and giving it the right due efforts to be operationalized and complemented.
You know, sir, the most important, let's say, word or point with which the Egyptian plan was described with, practical. The Egyptian plan is practical. It can be implemented on the ground with the coordination among the concerned powers. The Arabs can do that. With their unity, with coordinating efforts together, the Egyptian plan, which became, as you've kindly mentioned, the Arab plan after being endorsed by the Arabs in the OIC summit, which took place in Saudi Arabia, being practical, meaning that we studied well the situation and we have been involved since day one. No country was involved in the Palestinian situation since day one as Egypt. So tomorrow is another day. What should be our homework as the Arab nation?
Yes, there should be much more effort in that right direction of supporting the operationalization of the Arab plan. Now we call it the Arab plan, and I think that it is winning a great deal of ground by France, by England, by many countries all over the world. And I think, as Professor Lisa Anderson mentioned, the whole world should see the opportunity to have this accomplished and operationalized. And she and the other fair-minded observers said, yes, don't forget that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is taking the avenue of President Sadat, which was a turning point in history when it comes to determination for peace, based on dignity, based on land for peace, based on win-win for everyone. And the history of Egypt and the history of keeping the treaty as a good example of good cooperation should be continued, and the Egyptian leadership insisted on having this in mind, and while they are trying to save the Palestinian cause, the Palestinian rights, de-escalating in all the fronts in the area. So I think that the Egyptian diplomacy is doing a great job. It is to be written with golden letters in history.
Well, sir, let's hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day and we are not going to witness other massacres committed by the Israeli occupation in this dear part of the Arab nation in Palestine. Well, Dr. Hassan Wageeh, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Right after the short